There we go. So even though we're on our stream starting shortly screen, they can hear us, those are watching. No pressure, guys, or anything. No big deal.
Dirty deeds.
Yeah,
Dirt cheap.
We'll get the Grimm Talks
Love
episode
you.
going in about 3 minutes. Love you too, Jay.
I was talking to Rosie.
I know you was. Alright. Tell you what's interesting is all of a sudden... Oh, that's a bummer.
I forgot to go get eggs.
How dare you? Let's load up Twitch.
I'll go get them after this, I promise.
He's lying.
Ooh, I wouldn't
He's
promise.
lying. He's not going
No, I
to get
will.
eggs after
If you're
this.
if you're anything like me, dog, I wouldn't be promising anything.
Oh, I don't promise unless I mean it.
Right.
Oh, okay, it's like that. Okay,
There's that.
I am forgetful as fuck.
Are you? Are you?
Oh,
Mike?
so am I.
hell yeah.
Rosie will send me to the grocery store to literally get like 3 things.
Yeah.
I remember the first 2 things. The third thing, I'm like, I have no fucking clue what it was. I come back with like 2 other things that wasn't on this though.
That's
But she
typically how it
sent
goes.
me- Yeah, she just said, she just reminded me of a time. My yogurt. I went to the grocery store to literally get yogurt, but I knew we needed milk and like bread, so I got milk and bread, and I forgot the yogurt.
Nice.
Something like. Huh? Oh, and she didn't specify on what kind of yogurt. And I thought it was for the kids, and I got the wrong.
Would you get some like Go-Gurt?
Go-gurt? Yeah, for the kids.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey.
But she eats the non-fat plain.
Yeah,
Like
Greek-
Chobani,
Greek
like
yogurt?
Chobani Greek yogurt. Or
Yeah.
something.
Chobani. Hey,
That's
you know,
exactly it.
low calorie stuff, man. That's where it's at.
Low cal.
Low
High
cal.
protein.
Are you dying there?
I sound horrible today.
Yeah. Worse than the other day. You're regressing. Why are you regressing?
All the phlegm's coming up, man.
Oh boy.
Yeah, no, I should be spitting it out, but
You ever use a neti pot?
you know, I've been asked that like 8 times. I have not.
It sounds like maybe you should.
It feels like you're getting waterboarded.
It's
but
all
it works.
yeah.
Yeah,
We'll all chip in and get you a neti pot.
I'll have to try it.
You can do it on stream. You can get a bowl and neti pot yourself.
Yeah, we'll do it live.
We'll do it live just because it'd be hilarious. It would be funny. Alright, no drop frames. Alright, let's go ahead and start recording.
From what, neti pot? Oh, Rosie said you can give yourself a fungus from neti pot, so I guess don't you?
I think it's
Ooh.
like if you don't clean it, you know?
Oh, she just said make sure you clean.
Yeah, if you don't clean it, then that
Mm.
would make sense. Like
I've never cleaned
some
mine.
bacteria growing in your neti pot.
Ooh,
Run it through your sinuses.
confessions on the stream.
Yeah.
I don't clean my
The
neti
Confessions of the Neti Pot. That is our new series.
pot.
Excuse me.
Well, I better
Alright.
get my freaking mute button ready because I'm gonna be coughing all fucking day.
Oh, that sounds good.
At least you get to use your mute button. Apparently mine's a loud click, click.
Yeah, yours
Oh,
is.
is it?
Hey, we'll get you a mic one of these days, bud. Don't you worry. It's okay. Fudge it, right?
Fudge it, dude.
So, are we ready, guys? Everyone give me
As
a...
ready as I'm going to be.
Yeah, I think so.
Are you nervous?
Oh no, I just got my wife over here.
She's
cooking
looking at you.
breakfast.
Oh, so she's gonna like... Yeah, and you gotta do a lot of talking, too, so...
I do have to do a lot of talking.
Wyler, you ready?
Yes.
Alright, let's transition over. Alright, guys. So welcome to the first ever episode of Grimm Talks. We're gonna recap our weekly campaign and then do some subject matter in regards to tabletop role-playing games. Look at all those smiles. I'm joined by Wyler Taylor, Ian Stapleton, and Justin Haines. I can't help but to
Okay.
laugh right now. Just Justin's face. Anyways, so today we wanted to start off by talking about our Chapter 1 episode from this past Saturday. So I guess first of all, did everybody have fun?
Oh hell
An
yeah!
absolute blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the first question would be like, let everybody know who you're playing in this campaign. Like your name and then like who you are. Whoever wants to go first. Ian, go first.
There we go.
I'll be playing Daraguul,
Yeah, you're playing Daraguul.
half-orc paladin.
Mm-hmm. Wyler, who are you playing?
I'm playing Honest. I'm playing a human monk.
Mm-hmm. Justin?
Vogar, the goat rider, but he's currently playing disguise as a halfling, but he's actually
The dwarf, yeah.
disguise is actually pretty awful based on.
So we started off the campaign with brief solo introductions. I think we started with Daraguul, which is Ian's character. What did you think about that introduction and the way it portrayed you, like, coming in?
That felt good. Daraguul's not... he's not a super kind of friendly, user-friendly kind of guy.
Yeah.
So he's very much been a loner his whole life. So to be off in the Willow Woodlands by himself, which is not a nice place to be by yourself, did make a whole lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And to be doing what he's doing makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah, you initially came in just after a solo battle with these creatures that you've dubbed bone needles. You've been seeing them a lot around these desecrated willow trees, and as of right now, your investigations haven't turned up why. But more story to come and all that. But then I think we transitioned over to Jay's character Vogar. And what did you think about that introduction with you and Thala and Beatrice?
Oh, I actually enjoyed it. I was just kind of curious on how I should have introduced my character. That's what I was trying to be.
Yeah, we did do it kind of on the
Low
fly.
detail.
Yeah, I wanted you guys to be not blindsided, but just, not knowing exactly how it was going to go. So, but yeah, we started with you just after a traumatic event that I don't think in this first session was really talked about or anything, so.
No,
That'll-
bruised knuckles was
Yeah.
the only thing.
Bruised knuckles, and you were getting your hair cut, your beard trimmed, well, shaved, and then you collared your hair. But your traveling companion, of course, is Thala, the elven lass, and then Beatrice the goat. So, but then we moved over to Wyler's character, which probably had the most interesting intro because it left a lot to be desired, because you really don't know what's going on. So he didn't know that we were going to start there either. So I'm curious of your thoughts of like how that went.
Well, as soon as you said, "Oh, we're gonna pick up right there," I'm like, "Oh,
Mhm.
so I'm gonna be like half dead."
Yeah. Which is it's a running theme, just so everyone knows. It's very much a running theme that Wyler's characters are always half dead. Apparently, he's got the highest kill count in our campaigns, or death count, I guess.
And it's not even close.
Mhm.
It's not even close.
No, but you came to in your home, the monastery in the east, amid dead bodies, and then you talked to an old man, which I guess we kind of hinted at that may have been an old mentor of yours, and he essentially told you to run. So, yeah. But so moving on after that, the story, I guess, of everyone came together as you guys all kind of ran into each other on the road.
Some more literally. Other.
Yeah. Yeah, Vogar,
Bodies.
you and Thala, I guess, were heading down the tradeway toward Yardoon. That's where you found Wyler's character, and then you were introduced to Daraguul, Ian's character, who just kind of ran out of the woods, and it was a cool little encounter. What'd you guys think of the just the coming together and the odd circumstances? You guys didn't get to really talk to one another and really even discuss why all of you were there in great detail. So, I'm curious about that.
I actually enjoyed it. I thought it kind of fit my the background and like why I'm not really asking questions, why I'm actually open to people joining us as we travel. So for me, I actually thought it felt pretty good.
Yeah.
That's why I try to throw the little nugget of detail with like asking and whispering to Thala.
Yeah. And Thala, like her mindset was if these people can pay, it'll help us, on our trek. So, so Wyler, what did you and your character kind of think of these two individuals, like when you first met them?
Well, at first I kind of just thought they were travelers.
Mm-hmm.
Just like people on the tradeway. But because I passed that perception check to hear that conversation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you heard.
yes, you did. So there was maybe some curiosities there to be had.
After the situation my character was in, I don't think he's wanting to ask a lot of questions, but he just doesn't care at the moment. He's just kind of like,
Yeah, you were wounded too, which they all kind of
Yeah.
noticed. And what I found interesting is up to that point, there really wasn't a lot of talk about it. And then even so, Daraguul, Ian's character, you came running on to the tradeway there as they were traveling and essentially ran them off the road.
I'm a big half orc.
Yeah, so the that was probably an interesting moment for all as well. But that led into the first encounter of the first combat encounter of the campaign. So just that in itself, 3 people, not including Thal and Beatrice, that don't know each other, trying to fight with one another. How do you think that encounter went, considering everything?
Pretty poor. Pretty poor. Not the actual encounter itself, just like performance-wise.
Yeah,
You never want to drop your sword to start,
you
the
did.
encounter.
You dropped your sword, yeah, and then Wyler's character was at a severe disadvantage already. So
Stayed back, didn't fight.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I love the shade.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then I don't think Beatrice got in on that fight too as well. The goat.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
actually impaled that
Mm-hmm.
the spider-like things,
Yeah, and I guess that
bone needles.
yeah, that brings me to another question: is what did the other 2 players think about the goat? I'm just
Odd,
curious.
but
I'm into it, man. I'm into the goat.
yeah.
I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, I like the
Considering that
goat.
this goat is pulling a 2-cart, little caravan.
Yeah, so Daraguul in game's very curious about that.
So, pushing on about the campaign, you guys moved along the tradeway. I don't think there was a lot of discussion. Everybody kind of kept to themselves. I think Justin's character was doing some brewing at some point along this. I mean, it might have been later. But you all just traveled, didn't talk much, ended up setting up camp at some time. That's when the story of the first kind of session really kicked off, was everything surrounding Thala's disappearance. Any input on that one?
I liked it.
I enjoyed it.
So
It was classic,
Yeah.
that was the idea, was to give
Companion,
it kind of
companion walks off, screaming in the woods. Very
Yeah,
classic, very
but-
classic.
It also leads into, which we've seen earlier, but it definitely leads into Daraguul's usage of the substance Devil's Root.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because
yep.
things would have went a lot different had you not felt the, being compelled to use it in that moment. Because you essentially used it and blacked out, like as she walked away.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things, like, I definitely have to roleplay it to its fullest potential. And so when I roll a check and I fail it, I'm taking the Devil's Root 100%.
Right.
Regardless of where we're at, what we're doing. So.
Right. And so at that point, like I said, you guys were traveling together, not really speaking much. But then Vogar's traveling companion, Thala, goes missing. In the moment that you take the Devil's Root, everyone hears a scream, but everybody was sleeping and or passed out. So you guys kind of all woke up not knowing what to do. And I think that as you went off looking for Thala, it was Wyler's character that actually found kind of the first clue.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you were looking about the woodlands, Honest found her nose ring that had been ripped from her face and was kind of left there. And you guys pressed on. So that's whenever the story kind of took a dark turn, I guess, is the best way to put it. You went off looking for her, you left Beatrice at the cart, and then here she comes running in this kind of open glade. And that's where we ran into the second combat encounter of the evening. You guys had to face off against double-headed hounds. What did we think about that encounter? Because I thought it was an interesting one, how it played out.
No, it was definitely a cool encounter.
Uh-huh.
I loved it. I loved it.
Specifically you, Wyler. How did you think it went?
It was going well until I got hit. Like, I was doing well, and then like that last attack, that 18 that beat my AC, and all of a sudden, oh hey, roll con save. Like, what?
Yeah.
What?
You came into the story with an infected, wounded leg already that Daraguul healed, and then next thing you know, you contract another disease that Daraguul identified, and at that point, you were having probably a pretty, like, the roughest day out of everyone, for sure. But you guys pressed on. And in your search to find Thala, you found a cave, which led to kind of a whole nother, piece of story. You quickly found out it wasn't all that it was cracked up to be. It wasn't some ominous cave. It was very much haunted. So, you guys started seeing things. What did you, like, the ambience and everything, seeing this, female creature, and then finding her diary and all that. I mean, how did that feel to everybody as you were going through?
Classic horror.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is it spooky at all? It's hard to portray that in a D&D game when you don't have actual visuals.
It was a feels bad for sure, man.
Yeah, I think so. And then there was go ahead.
Oh, personally, I think when it comes to horror, it has to be like theater of the mind. Like, you have to describe this thing. Mm-hmm. Because, like, if you have like minis or anything like this, and you show me this tiny little mini, like right next to me, like this big scary thing, I'm like,
yeah. It's
so I think it came out a lot better than
the way it did. I think it gave it a more creepy feel. You guys got lost in this cave because the passage behind kept disappearing essentially. You found who you presumed to be this creature, whatever she was, like her journal, and that's where you started to kind of get her tale, I guess. And I think eventually through a history check, I think Daraguul figured out like who it may be because you guys found the name, Katakis, however you want to pronounce it, and that's what spooked you a little bit. But to kind of push forward, you guys ended up finding Thala deep in this cave. She'd been captured. It looked like she'd been tortured, and in the chamber you found her. It became locked behind you, and that led to the final combat encounter of the evening where you faced off against this demonic presence, this ghost, this chick, whatever she was. With how that fight went, like how'd everybody feel that went, and you especially, Daraguul, leading into the end of this session, like, what'd you guys think about all that?
I liked it a lot. I thought it was classic to enter the room and then have her already there waiting, which is great. And then the fact that she splits into two, and says "fuck you" and runs right through your body.
Yeah,
I thought that was great. I thought the whole opening was great. I liked the fact that she had like a mystical kind of presence about her. The way that she attacked whenever she went after
Thala,
yeah.
That's another part of it too. Vogar spent a little bit of that encounter actually trying to free Thala, and what he learned was that apparently she had given the creature you guys' names, and she also then apologized to Vogar for what she was about to do, and she transformed, which this is something that Vogar's character knew about. But what did Honest and Daraguul think when this traveling companion of theirs all of a sudden turned into this giant black-haired creature?
Scared, but the way Honest was, he was kind of focused on his own survival at that point.
You were pretty low, my friend. Daraguul being kind of a hunter of evil. I mean, even though you are a half-orc, like you're kind of a common race of Alora, but seeing a creature like this, and then knowing the tales of the past, like, what's Daraguul's mindset?
He's intrigued.
To say the least.
I would say that he's intrigued, slightly aroused, and slightly terrified. Probably in that order.
Yeah, I think we did end the session with you saying that you were going to try to lay with Thala at some point, so that's something to look forward to. We'll see how that goes, and if Vogar lets it go down. But yeah, so you guys ended up slaying her, we'll say. You finished the encounter. The room kind of became furnished in the end, and honest, they had you kind of investigate it because I think they were a little too afraid to do so.
I was carrying a woman.
You were, and Vogar was hiding in the corner, not in the corner, but
I do
at
what I
the
do.
doorway. Yeah. So in the room, you found a beating heart in a chest, of which you touched and it shriveled, and you left it. That is key. And you also found a kind of like a railroad spike. And that was really everything of note before you guys fled. You eventually found rest. And I think that's all that really happened in the first session, other than at the end. Daraguul heard his name being said to him as he dozed off by that demonic presence. Excuse me. So overall, good first session?
Oh yeah.
And
Definitely an impending doom kind of feel.
very much. And we actually have little ideas to what's going to come next, because I'm curious if these people are going to want to stay with one another. And there's a lot of other story to be told about their prior doings. But yeah, that's the recap of our first episode. What we also want to do here on Grimm Talks Weekly is talk about a discussion topic related to tabletop RPGs. What we're doing this week, because, well, Justin's new to our group, he's also running a very interesting campaign that we all want to pick his brain about, because it's a low magic setting. So I guess to kind of like give an idea, so when we're talking about low magic, I guess like a good point of reference would be either like Lord of the Rings or like some Cthulhu stuff. But Justin's is
kind of like
very
Game of Thrones
yeah, it's Game of Thrones
in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. He's doing not only low magic, but it's a very difficult low magic setup. So in your opinion, Justin, like what is your like definition, I guess, of your low magic campaign? What were you setting out to do whenever you created it?
Well, it's kind of more opinion based on my end itself, because I started out actually playing D&D with the Star Wars campaign in the Force. And I wasn't too big of a fan of the Force in itself, so actually I didn't play any Force characters. And then later on I actually started DMing, and like none of my enemies were Force related. They were actually all HUD, kind of Outer Rim stuff. So to follow that same kind of theme and me getting into fantasy, I kind of like how magic is more dangerous than just easily available all the time. So as I was reading Dungeon Crawl Classics, they actually have something where you actually have to roll to use magic, versus the classic D&D is like I do this and it happens.
Right.
So I really like that difficult setting, like, because if you're a barbarian swinging a sword, you don't just magically hit the person.
Right,
so
right,
same
right.
thing for magic.
Also, Carry One, thanks for the follow. So, like, what, other than what you just said, so that's essentially what made you want to run this low magic campaign?
Yeah.
And what was the, so you started out with Star Wars. What was the idea to use, like, what made you want to use 5th edition as, like, your base?
Because it's extremely user-friendly, especially to a lot of us newer players. So, I mee, I've been playing for 3 years, same as pretty much everyone in my group, except for our original DM, and he's been playing for probably like 60.
Yeah.
And 5e, like, disadvantage, advantage, the tables, the CR ratings, everything like that is... I actually prefer it over like 3.5. However, I like the grim, dark feel of older style D&D.
Right. And, so I guess a couple questions on the way your game works. How did you end up doing ability scores during character creation?
Picked a pretty low standard array, kind of going off Dungeon Crawl Classics and AD&D is the 3d6 rule, basically 3d6, you get what you get in order. So I gave everyone the option to either, because we rolled a couple times and some of like 4s and 3s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And pretty much we decided as a group, because this whole thing wouldn't be like, I wouldn't be doing it if we all didn't decide that we're okay with it going forward.
That is another thing too, is that you're we'll get to it more at how difficult maybe your campaign is, but all your players are down for it is a good thing to note.
It's different.
Right. Ian, Wyler, what do you think about the using the 3d6 method? Like, because we've never done it.
As a notoriously low roller.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you might want to stay away from that. Wyler.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so everybody knows, Wyler, like, we've sat at the table numerous times and played D&D. Wyler's rolls are some of the worst that we've ever seen collectively. And we're not talking about a specific set of dice. Like, he's got a lot of dice.
It's all his dice.
It's all of them. And
yeah, no, I have a huge bag of dice, and trust me, none of them are lucky. None of them.
Every now and then you have a day. Like,
yeah,
you know, like once a month or once every other month you end up having a day. But Ian, what do you think about the 3d6?
Oof, big oof.
Does it terrify you?
I think for Justin's specific campaign, the way that he wants it to be presented, I think it's perfect. I think there's a lot of area for falling into not traps, but really hard situations, with 5th edition being so ability score prominent.
Yeah,
that could maybe hurt someone going forward, but it's also something that they've signed up for and they understand, and it's the game style that Justin wants to run and that they want to play. So I think that it's not an issue at all for the campaign.
Speaking of that, Justin, do the characters get ASIs or feats as they level up and progress?
No, actually, I think feats in itself could be pretty OP sometimes. So actually,
I get that at some point here. Okay. But what about ASIs?
You become a wizard.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we ended up everyone pretty much neglected the 3d6, so we ended up going with a standard stat array that I personally just lowered.
Sure. Now, I would love to know what that array is. If you know it off the top of your head.
12, 12, 10, 10, 10, 8.
That's actually not bad. That's like
bad.
middle of the road NPC.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Compared to the actual standard array of 5th edition, though, it is lower, for sure.
Yes.
Which could be scary to some people that are just, listening and like, oh my gosh, what do I do if I don't get feats and stuff? Yes, Wyler?
No, I was just raising my hand in agreement, like.
So.
Because I think I rolled a character that the highest I ever got was like a 14.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah.
We did a campaign a while back. It was that kind of political intrigue kind of campaign where you guys were at the castle and you were like second. What were you exactly? I forget. You were the queen's.
I was like the queen's hand. Right,
if I recall, your ability score rolls were not so good that day.
I thought that you were the queen's boy toy.
Well, he was that too. He was that
too.
as well, for sure.
That was a joke.
But continuing back to this low magic stuff, do you use combat rating in this, like to design encounters, or like how are you doing it?
Depending. So random encounters, not so much. That's one of the things I like about old school AD&D. Just because, like, if a dragon comes here and you're level 3, like, you shouldn't be able to defeat it. And if you stay and fight, you will die.
Yeah.
But my actual take away the random encounters and actually the story-based encounters in itself, they are actually CR rated, and I do follow the 5th edition. The 1 to 4, 1 to 5-ish ratio, give or take.
Okay.
Because my goal is not to TPK. It may feel like it at times because like the low stat array and stuff like that. But it's just to have that grim, dark feeling, the sense of dread that like
impending
every combat.
Doom.
Yeah, I really like that, and I think the players do too. Because like whenever I ran them to the 0 level funnel, like their eyes were wide open. Like, just as scared of a regular door because you don't know what's on.
You don't know what's on the other side. Yeah, we'll get to the that funnel in the end of this convo, by the way, because I'm curious of everybody's input on that. Do you use armor class?
which goes into another conversation itself. So when I was deciding on how I want to do it, I think I just like to tinker with everything, so I can never leave something the way it's written because just my own. I was looking at different ways, especially with I have a couple new players and a couple questions like how come armor class and like technically armor doesn't technically do anything. For someone who doesn't play D&D, they don't understand armor itself. And sometimes getting into it, I actually agreed. So I went with the system that where damage is actually absorbs. Like your armor absorbs the damage. And there is no AC. Everyone's basically at a base level of 10 on skill to be in hit.
Right.
But there's different circumstances per class that kind of change that as well. So it's kind of a dungeon world system, but they actually run a 3d6 system on that. But nothing takes away with rolling a d20 and getting like that nat 20, like compared to. So I was like, I can't take away the d20 from players. So I basically adopted that system as in a 1 through 10 is a miss. 10 through 15 is you hit, but there's a consequence of some sort. And then 16 and above is a hit, successfully, no consequence. Just like hitting someone's armor.
Do you guys still roll damage? Because I'm assuming are the weapons and stuff, do they still have a die associated with them or what?
Yeah, they're all still the exact 5th edition 1d4, slings, daggers, 1d8, scimitar, like everything's the exact same damage array. Hit dice is even the same for their health. But I actually cap my health.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that for creatures, NPCs, players, everything?
Yes, everything's really low health base in itself, as in a sense.
It's like bringing realism into it, right?
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the two people above me on my screen? What do you think about that to hit system? The die 20 and then the threshold between the different groups there.
Go ahead, Ian.
So experiencing the AC system firsthand and seeing how it can get out of control.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me, particularly with this setting. It doesn't bother me a whole lot that you're going for that kind of. It's more of like a chart than it is rolling to hit a specific number. The damage threshold thing, it doesn't bother me either.
Hey, Big Dano. Sorry.
Hey, Dan. Dan, we had a question for you. Are you Dirty Dan?
He may be. We will see. Are you indeed Dirty Dan? But yeah, so what Ian's kind of pointing at here is we had a campaign, the original Alora campaign. He ran a character named Durn Stoneheart. And what was your ending AC for the campaign?
I had a base 29. I was a Vengeance Paladin that would run haste, so you got to add 2 to that. I had a sword defender that if you hit with it, you could shift your +3 bonus to AC. So I had an ending AC of 35.
It got
it was all said.
Yeah. Which
and
I do
sounds high.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had 2 rings that boosted AC. One when I wore a shield, one was a ring of protection. I had a +2 or 3 shield, and then I had the defensive fighting style too. So that's 1 on AC as well. So you just kind of combine all those things with +2 plate armor, and I had this wild.
It made it really hard for me to make encounters that were fair to the other players. Because nothing could hit. Ian was the tank. Like, he could tank any fight at that point. If you were just going to use, like, the monster manual. By the way, Big Dano is not Dirty Dan. He just wanted you guys to know that. Pushing on a little bit forward here. What was my next question? So we've talked about your ACCR and then to hit. But, so what's, like, the basic lore of this low magic setting?
Low magic, and I like it kind of comparative more to Dark Sun. Remember, like, magic did exist, but when you did, it kind of actually destroyed the world. In this case, it doesn't destroy the world, but it's feared because of, like, thousands of years ago, an evil wizard actually basically did some kind of ritual-based magic that actually put the world in some kind of cataclysmic event and actually almost eradicated every race on the world. And it's still kind of, now it's not written in paper because it's kind of Bronze Ages, so someone might spend an entire lifetime writing a book, which actually makes the spells and scrolls actually very, very rare.
Yeah.
But it's, I think, like true medieval times, as if like a witch, the witch hunts and stuff like that. If someone like thinks you're actually magical, you're feared as in someone evil.
Which is,
you yourself might not be evil.
Yeah.
But
it's similar to a campaign that Ian wanted to run as well, which I would like to talk to in one of these segments at some point. But so tell me a little bit, because like whenever you first brought it up, it's something that I didn't remember, and I don't know if a lot of people have ever heard of it. But Dungeon Crawl Classics, what does that mean to you, and how did it inspire this setting of yours?
Actually, originally I can't take all of it just for finding it my own. I was kind of YouTube searching different systems and stuff whenever I wanted to create this world, and I came across it, and I kind of became slightly obsessed with it, actually.
Yeah.
In a sense that just use like a fighter, for instance, because they actually don't have that many different classes. It's very AD&D, like a halfling and stuff like that. It's its own thing.
Right.
Is they make all the classes really unique. So when it comes to like their fighting style and stuff like that, they actually get to roll an additional 1d4 to hit and for damage. So it's only them. Like no other player gets that. So it makes it feel a little more unique, which I really like they do that. Another option is a spell burn option for the spellcaster, is because when you cast a spell, you got to roll a DC, hit that dice check, and then move on from there, and then different consequences come from that. Or you can actually take a 20 on it, but it's going to cost you something. It's going to cost you like a sacrifice for much. Like it could be a pound of flesh, it could make you go unconscious, but to give you that option kind of makes me think of like Lord of the Rings, like you shall not pass kind of thing.
You're constantly hitting a wall there.
You can take a nat 20. There's going to be a consequence, but there's certain points in an encounter that like the whole, team is basically dead, unconscious. You're the last man standing. They already got through your tank, through your rogue, everything, and you're like, I need a nat 20. So that's an option, but
yeah,
it's also a dangerous one, it seems.
Exactly. Well, my group itself, like in one of the earlier campaigns, not to get too sidetracked, came across a deck of many things, and we pretty much went through the entire deck because my group likes to gamble.
That's the ultimate gamble in D&D, though.
Yeah.
I think we've been there. Yeah, I think we've been there.
So the same concept when they're given that option to take something that powerful. However, like you might get boils across your entire body, and now you take disadvantage on all your charisma checks.
Right.
Like for good.
Yeah. Do you use so are you using a system like that in there? Are you using like a critical hit table, a critical fumble table, or a fumble table?
I'm using all of those. So DC, I took inspiration from fumble table, crit table, spellburn table. But unfortunately, everyone is terrified to become just a regular spellcaster. They're willing to find spells and try them, but they're terrified.
Well, that's another question too. Like, what were their options of character creation? Like what? Race and class, because I know that you were doing monstrous races too, I think.
So actually in this world, or this continent on my world, is actually made of just monster races at all. So Ravnica, Volo's Guide, everything. The only thing that they're not actually playing is human, because during that cataclysmic event, they actually died off on this continent. There's more in the world, they just actually haven't discovered them. So there is still halflings and dwarfs, half-elves, because of their long lifespan. They are actually able to withstand like sickness, illness, and things like that. But actual humans are non-existent on this continent, and that's all they know of the world is. But just like the lore and stuff in them, like a UNT or a tiefling is still, because of their natural innate spellcasting ability, they're like, we don't know about these guys, So like pretty much all the cities are still elven and dwarven, just like typical lore and stuff. However, now it's scattered. Like you might come across a village off in the wood that's with the furbolgs or something, and all of that's still there. The only thing's really missing is human,
Right.
in a sense.
So, go ahead.
So with this kind of up difficulty ceiling and with your so with the hit the consequence kind of thing, like during that or like in that range where it's like you hit but you take a consequence, would one of those consequences involve like weapon durability or armor durability, so to speak? Like,
Oh yes, it does. So I just pulled up a couple different things. There's quite a few different options to go with for like through Dungeon World. This is a Dungeon World system. But basically, I just wrote down like 4 things that'll happen, and I'll just like behind my little screen, I'll roll a d4, kind of what goes. But typically, if we're in melee, I like the idea of the creature you're fighting gets an opportunity to defend itself and actually attack you back. So pretty much, if you're attempting to stealth, you may, to get your shot off when you try to attack, you actually give up your position in stealth. Similar things like that. But weapon durability, armor durability, for repairs and everything, all does come into play. Just kind of already have a little idea of what we're doing for that.
okay, I was just curious, like, because I knew you were talking about the consequences, and then I was thinking like, well, armor and weapons. So it makes like keeping weapons, especially. So like, are there any like superior weapons, so to speak, in your world? Like,
there is.
Not necessarily magic, but like just like a fine quality, like a +1 or something.
So my world is only going to have +1. That's as far as it goes. Like thinking of realistic terms, like think of Excalibur. Realistically, it's probably only a +1 sword. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just it has a slight edge and a good swordman's hands.
Yeah, and there's also the rare metal adamantium. Is that how you say it? Right? I think it's
adamantine. Yeah, I mean I think that's how we all say it.
Adamantine. Yeah.
So like if you come across a sword like that, the durability, you won't actually have to pay because again, low magic, also low money. Like everyone started out with 5d12 copper pieces, and that's it.
Nice.
So
Impoverished.
Yeah. And that's just the way it goes. Especially, I already told the players ahead of the time. I was like, if you choose to travel with caravans, it's going to cost you money, but the likelihood of you being attacked by any kind of like burglars or brigands, I think is the actual proper term for an old school game like that. It goes down tremendously. I'll roll a different dice, and you have better odds whether or not you do it. If you decide to trek by yourselves, however, encounters either good or bad. Doesn't always have to be bad encounter, but completely go up from there.
And so that's actually another question I wanted to ask you about encounters. So I know you mentioned a dragon before, but so with the low magic setting, are there gonna so like the monsters are you going to use a lot of monsters? Because I know you said you're using monster races, but you're using like monster stat blocks. Like, do those still exist, or like exist? Or
like
are they
monsters
just, like,
with magical
rare?
abilities?
Yes.
Is that what you're going for? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They absolutely exist, and they are kind of like the epitome of the feared kind of thing. Like use the Willow Woodlands in our own setting. Like people don't travel there because, like by any means will you never go there just as a regular. So it's not that it doesn't exist. People are too afraid to even find.
That does make sense. Another question I have. What would you say to people like me or Ian we play a lot of high fantasy games? Like what do you say to someone that are so stuck in their ways when it in terms to that? Like to try and get them to come over and try this out, because some people are hesitant about it. And even I was whenever you first started talking to me about it. I was like, oh, I don't know. It sounds really hard. Are your players going to have fun? Like what's what's your hook to them? Yeah.
It depends on what kind of player you are. Like, I mean, if you are kind of a min-maxer, I think is the right term, like where you want to build your character up to the most, like, it's probably not the campaign for you. But if you're the kind of player that kind of wants to come up and like like figure out different ways to get something done. Like not everything happens with the sword. Sometimes talking your way out, classic D&D kind of thing. But definitely something you have to think about every encounter. Like this could be your last, so it adds a bit of dread to it. So if you actually enjoy that dread, that sends up every campaign. Because playing regular high fantasy D&D, once I get to about level 4, I feel pretty badass in itself. Like, fucking bring it on.
Yeah, it's like, why not just try it, because more than likely we're gonna succeed type of thing. Yeah. Which that does come down to the kind of dungeon master that you have and whether or not they are continuously trying to challenge you. In this setting that you're doing, you're challenging your players every step of the way.
Yeah, because I mean, using that. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Using that combat system itself, Wyler. So say you're super injured and stuff like that. You roll a d20 to hit. You roll a d20 to hit. Finally, you hit with like a 15. Like that sense of dread is already there because they have the opportunity to strike you back. Yeah. So even whenever you're in the middle of attacking and it's your turn, you can still take damage and still be dropped. That's where if you really like that style system, which we could still go to the AC base and you don't have that feeling and still run the low magic setting, because D&D 5e Player's Handbook and GM tool does have a low magic setting.
Right.
It just wasn't low enough and dark enough and grim enough, because like the diseases and stuff like that. So on some of the tables I found pretty fun in itself. I think it actually becomes funner for the dungeon master itself, because it makes the encounters like whenever you min-max and have a 35 AC, like you need to find something that can defeat that or some kind of weakness versus like just 6 goblins with 3 health points can kill a party with a couple of traps.
Right, yeah, for sure. It makes it, like I said, bringing that realism into the game is kind of cool. Which you're doing that through a low magic setting, and that's what me and Ian try to do through our high magic settings is, when's the right time to actually say roll initiative, and when do you just let a social encounter or a talking encounter, play itself out and have bad things happen in that moment. Is this your first time DMing?
No. This is my 3rd campaign. So I've tried one online before. Roll20, that one was pretty unsuccessful. It was also my first attempt, which probably was my own mistake on part.
Right.
But then my second but first true DM experience was the Star Wars campaign. After our DM was like, hey, I would kind of like to play now, but everyone wanted to keep playing Star Wars. We didn't want the campaign to end. And I was like, well, I was kind of interested to actually DM, so I'll give this a shot.
So which one of those was your first experience? Like how did it just happen? Like when did you just someone bring you in to just sit down and start playing tabletop? Like whose idea was it?
Oh, well, you actually met him as a friend, my buddy LeClaire. He played D&D a long time ago with some of his friends back in California before he moved out here. Mm-hmm. And then he thought it'd be cool to get a bunch of bros, pretty much.
Yeah,
it's never,
Right, you're
how it always starts.
Like to just, and this is a good thing too. Like a lot of people that, are on the outside of D&D, even though it's becoming more popular every day because of, really popular shows, podcasts, etc. A lot of people are still afraid to actually, like, find a group or ask about it. Justin, you guys are a bunch of buff dudes that work in a prison, and on the weekends you're playing tabletop RPGs.
Exactly.
Like, you're the epitome of someone that you wouldn't think that would normally do it. So, and what's really good about it is you guys don't seem to be assholes about it either. You're actually trying to bring people into play and give them a chance to sit down at the table.
We actually have a lot of people now. It's actually grown tremendously, like just in our little area. Even posting on social media after doing this campaign with you guys, I've actually had 2 people kind of reach out to me like, hey, I'd actually like to try a play. Yeah. Which kind of adds our toll to people who want to play and people we actually play with, like over 20 people. Which is awesome. That is actually tremendously, sometimes overwhelming because I make promises that I feel like I can't keep at times. Because
It's I mean,
We've all been there.
you can only have X amount of games that you can run without your head exploding, essentially.
Well, I mean, if I was single, I feel like I could make it work. But instead, I'm in the happily married man with a family and a job and responsibilities.
Right, it makes it more difficult. Ian, do you have any questions about Justin's campaign? Something that maybe I didn't get to. You would like to pick his brain about?
I'm more intrigued than anything about, because like I do like the sense of dread there is. So even playing D&D, once you do get to a certain level, you do feel like you can just run through a wall and a couple walls. And so I'm more intrigued about that than anything and seeing how it plays out.
Which means that we want weekly updates.
Questions not a lot.
Okay. Justin, is there anything else that you would, in like kind of ending comments here on your campaign? Is there anything that you would like to say about it or anything like that? Maybe get people to try it out or look certain things up.
I mean, I actually had a couple.
Before we get to that, hold your thing. Let's talk about the player funnel, because I want everyone's opinion on this one. I almost forgot about it. So you decided to start your campaign with a player funnel. Please tell us what that is, and then I kind of want everybody to give their input on what they think about it.
All right. Well, so before we get started with that, our group itself isn't a very, like, if we write background stories, because we don't get into it that much, we are all under the understanding our backstory is just what leads us up there. So it's either a one line or it doesn't exist at all.
Right.
So a lot of people don't actually use a backstory background. So I used it thinking that, well, this is actually your background. Like, this is how you became who you are and what actually drove you to become who you are for this adventure in itself. Like, you don't have a home because you don't have a home to go back to, whatever it may be. So we don't write the background. I decided to try the 0 level funnel to write the background for you. And it actually originally gives you an occupation.
Right.
So 0 level funnel, 3d6 in order: strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, character. What you get's what you get. You roll 4 different characters and you control all 4 characters at the same time. We decided on a system instead of basically like, okay, I control this player until he's going and then he dies and I just control the next player. You roll every time it's your turn, you roll a 1d4 or a 1d3 or flip a coin. Or when you get to the last one, it's obviously the last one. And then that's the person that makes that action. It kind of made it more random, and it actually worked out really good. It was actually my first time running a module ever. It was a DCC Dungeon Crawl Classics. How's this say? Something about the Starless Sea. I told you that already, and I already forgot the name.
Yeah, so I forget it off the top of my head as well. So essentially, though, like what you're saying, this funnel is it's a tragic event that is the beginning of your tale, a level 0 type thing, and then like whoever survives out of their created characters, that's who they continue the campaign with, correct?
Yes, and whatever stats that those characters have.
Yeah, so a lot of randomness and then a lot of death. But you didn't just use this because it was an interesting idea. This was also kind of to not teach your players something, but give them an idea of like how far you're willing to go and how dangerous it is, correct?
Yes, it actually set the tone for it. Basically, I set the campaign originally with actually a disease, a plague of sorts. It actually killed off a bunch of the people in this little shire, which is why they left it. It wasn't safe to stay there anymore, which is why they left their home and kind of started traveling for shelter. And then there's a pending like winter storm coming to kind of give them a sense of time. Like, we can't just sit here and wait. And I told them beforehand that the winter storm actually is cold damage itself, and they're not actually equipped for the cold weather. Actually killed off some of their other players. Yeah. So it already put out the environmental hazards, put off like diseases and stuff like that. Let them know that they're there and it will kill you. Of course, that was much more detailed than I am now.
Yeah, of course.
And then leading more into environmental, actually, to start off with it, which is Sailors of the Starless Sea, it's called. As they start to approach something, a rock slide actually comes in, and it actually kills 2 players immediately.
Oh, wow.
And this is in the introduction of it. pretty
Wow.
much.
Wow.
Just from because I did change the module a little bit.
To fit
So
what
I
you
can
was
run
wanting
it
to do.
smoother.
Yeah.
So that really set the tone, and then oh well, can we loot our own bodies? And I was like, well, in this case, no, because it's all actually damage.
Yeah.
But they can loot their own body, and that really set the tone pretty much.
That in itself
and
is
then-
spooky. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looting my
and
dead
then-
corpse real quick. Give me a second.
Yeah, and then it actually, the rock slide actually, classic D&D, opened up a cavern or a cavern that they could see that was currently hidden. They went in there, which actually gave them the first taste of magic in its sense. Basically, it was this protected tomb, and it goes back to the history of my own lore.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the 5 fighters. Basically, I haven't quite named it yet. I have a horrible name for it. The Mighty 5.
Okay.
And it gives them actually their first magic weapon. But this guy is a massive elf. He was 7 feet tall, elf, which is kind of his impending thing. His name was can't even think of it now. I can't even think of the name right now because I don't have any notes.
Mm-hmm.
But it was trapped in a sense. It was a cold damage. So every time they actually walked out, for one, they had a dex saving throw because it was really slick, which they all actually passed pretty easy because I put it pretty low because of their ability stats.
Yeah.
But every round that they were on the ice, they actually took, if they didn't pass on saving throw, they took 1d4 damage. Keep in mind, they're off a 0 level funnel. I upped it a little bit for 5e because 5e standards is 6 plus your con modifier.
Right, but what was
Even
their
how
actual
low.
starting HP?
Between 4 and 8. Oh, 7. 4 and 7.
Okay. So pretty low. Like a die 4 is a lot of damage to a level 0 character like that.
Yeah.
But I mean that
So
was
one
the point though. That's the point.
Yes.
Um,
And then oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say, so Big Dano just wanted everybody to know he's a big fan, and this will resonate with you, Wyler. He likes playing Air Genasi monks, and I think you've played more monks than anybody in our campaigns. So
Played a fire genasi monk and I loved him.
yeah, Mr. Brinton, right? So,
Yeah.
But so the result of the funnel, like, what was everybody's like thoughts? Like the session's over, because did it end on the funnel, or was there stuff after?
It did end on the funnel. It actually put them right to level 1. Excuse me.
Was
they actually all loved it.
What was the funnel itself? if I recall, was it was a den of wolves?
No, I actually changed it. So
Okay,
there's
what
a
was-
couple different things I was gonna do,
Uh-huh.
but I was afraid it was too powerful. I didn't want to TPK them, and I set it up kind of
Right.
high. And I did want combat, but I didn't want it to be the whole theme of combat.
Yeah.
So I wanted like a little more story based and stuff. The reason why I wanted a lot of combat was because to test the actual combat system, because it's none of the players have actually got to try it.
Right.
They really enjoyed it because they actually got hit down to 1 HP, but I rolled, I think it was like a 11, so they had the opportunity to do attack back. So basically, I struck them, knocking them prone to 1 health point. But as they were falling prone, they actually flung the sword up and actually cut a beastman's like neck wide open and killed
nice.
him, which gave him a sense of like, oh, cool, I'm not helpless.
I can do stuff.
Yeah, even though I almost died, like I did it. And that was like one of the characters that did that. He lived through the whole thing at 1 HP. He made it the Westwood.
Which makes a hell of a good opening story for him.
Yeah.
But so Ian and Wyler, what do you guys think about the player funnel? Now having actually heard how it went and what it is.
Having just now heard that story, I'm a little more open to it. Like at first, I'm like, to a veteran player, it'd be one thing. To a brand new player, I'd be like,
Right.
But
And
now that I know
now that you've heard.
go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish up.
I would say, but now that I kind of know how it is, and it's like you have multiple characters and you kind of dwindle them down,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little more open to it. Like I said, I am no stranger to D&D character death, so
Right. And what's interesting about this is, Wyler, you're a newer player of D&D in the last couple of years, right?
yeah.
So that's a newer player's perspective, which is a good one. But then Ian, being someone that's played on and off for a long time, what's your perspective of the player funnel?
It definitely works for Justin's game, 100%. It's definitely contradictory to the way that I've traditionally played D&D, where you kind of take not a lot of thought, moderate amount of thought, and you work that into your character, and so I do roll ability scores, but I kind of figure out what I want to play, and then I kind of build my character from a backstory. Yeah. So I kind of get a general idea and then events of what's happened to this person, and then I kind of like move that direction during character creation as far as like ability scores, feats, that kind of thing, background, and then I kind of move from there. I've never played it like that. It's intriguing, definitely, and I think it really, really works with your style of game too. Yeah, I mean, it's really complimentary there. It's something we could give it a shot. We may.
There is definitely always time for a one shot, and I think in the future that if we could do a one shot that encompassed a funnel and then an initial kind of little arc thing that Jay could run, I think it'd be good to experience firsthand.
I'd be down.
I know you
would. It actually worked out pretty good. So one person that lived rolled a hunter, which quote unquote now is a ranger.
Yeah.
Leveling one up to. We had a smuggler and a thief, because in the 0 level funnel you roll your ability scores, and on top of that you also roll percentage die for your occupation. Like it goes anyway from like a piss boy, a gong farmer, a smuggler, like a wizard's apprentice. And then
the piss boy goes to fight the wolf.
Yeah, baby.
Exactly. And then the other guy was kind of the wild card. He was a barber. Like, well, fuck, what does a barber be? Because we decided after we made the characters, they actually really enjoyed. I had one player that wasn't looking forward to the 0 level funnel, but he said he'd try it.
Right.
Like, I'll come in with an open mind. He's our long-term DM, and he's like, I don't, because he hated 4E. He's like, this really reminds me of 4E. I'm not really a big fan of this, but if it's different, and if you're trying to compare the two, just give it a try because it is different. But then the barber, but he's the one who actually wielded this axe, which basically puts you in a wild rage. And he originally wanted to play a barbarian, so he's now the barbarian.
The barbarian. See, it totally makes sense. Yeah. Did he enjoy it? Like in the end, was he like, yeah, I liked it, ready to continue?
Oh yeah, he's like, this is awesome. And then it already filled into his backstory because he wanted to be a barbarian, and this of course happened randomly, but this axe puts him in a rage, which kind of gives this backstory why he became a barbarian. Hunter is a hunter. He's good with the bow. He naturally is used to scouting out animals or whatever. And then like now he's a ranger. And then the two rogues, they were naturally thieves of the Shire, and the smuggler, which kind of already fit themselves in that background. So take away the D&D traditional, I choose this background, you actually kind of randomly rolled for the occupation, and that's what put it in. But you do have to have that open mind of like, I'm not going to play this character, I'm going to play whatever character that I randomly get, and I'm going to make the story with that character. So it's a challenge.
Yeah, it's a challenge for players, which I think would be good for, I think it's good for new players and for older players that have been around it a while, because we're like vets, we'll call them. It gives them a challenge, to think outside the box. And then for new players, it gives them structure at the same time. Because a new player coming in, I want to play this, and this. You've got it a good way to where it's kind of randomly happening, and it draws them in. And it can teach them to play a very interesting style of game, which is low magic. With that, Ian. It was Ian's idea that at the end of these Grimm Talks on Mondays that we all kind of we pick a topic for a top 5. Ian, would you like to tell us what this week's top 5 is, and then give us your list, and then we'll go to Wyler, Jay, and then I'll go last.
Yeah, so this week we're doing top 5 dead or alive celebrities you would want to play D&D with. So for me, number 1, Keanu Reeves. He's your plot armor guy. He's your catalyst. 2, Sophie Turner. She's my celebrity crush. I love her. I want to have her children. 3, Michael Clark Duncan. He's your kind-hearted, good spirit guy. Everyone needs a conscience in the party. Yeah. 4, Burt Reynolds. He's the ultimate edgelord, but he's still likable enough for the party to get along with. 5, I've got Joe Rogan. He's your relatable guy, likes to question stuff. And just as a quick honorable mention, I've got Walt Disney, maybe DM, and I've got Ian McKellen because he's the been there, done that wizard.
Nice.
So
nice. Oh, Wyler, what's your top 5, man?
I didn't go that far into detail.
I didn't either,
but...
so don't worry about it.
Oh, thank God. Thank God.
Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, Robert Downey Jr., Betty White, believe it or not.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
And Clint Eastwood.
Nice. That's an all-star cast right there. What about you, Jay?
Well, actually, I got some repeats actually written in. So mine aren't in any particular order. I just kind of went with personality and actual like role playability. I think they'd be really good.
Mm-hmm.
So not in any particular order, but actually, I'll just go read off the list. So
Okay.
This is how they came. Terry Crews, because he has one hell of a charisma. Like,
Yeah, he does. And he's played D&D, which would be great. He knows how to just jump in and do it.
Robin Williams.
That's a good one.
R.I.P. Boom. You know, like man, there's a lot of childhood movies where he's in, and I loved.
Yeah, could you like the characters he could play? It'd be nutty.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually chose Walt Disney.
Nice.
I was going back and forth. I was like, would it be Walt Disney or Gary Gygax? I kept going back and forth.
Right.
And I was like, because I was thinking of as a DM as well. Like, and when you said it, I was like, oh shit, we're on the same line track there. I ended up going with Walt Disney because a lot of the Disney movies, obviously, some grim tales. Like, that's where his inspiration was. I was like, that'll go with that.
Right.
Clint Eastwood, my other honorable mention. And this is going off the idea of basically, Brad knows this, but I really like wild Western movies and stuff like that. And overall, I want to do a Wild West campaign.
Yeah.
And then going into the last one, is one of my favorite actors in general, Harrison Ford.
I actually almost put him on my list. So
Harrison Ford, Han Solo, like, come on. And then my favorite actual movies are Indiana Jones when it comes to adventure. I've rewatched Indiana Jones way too much.
Yeah.
So Harrison Ford is right there.
Well, it'd make a good D&D session.
Exactly.
Some Indiana Jones stuff would be pretty cool.
But I wanted more, but 5 is all I got.
You can do an honorable mention or 2.
I think I can't even say his last name. Joe Manganiello.
Yeah, the dude that I forget. And this is terrible because we all play in D&D, but he has like his own like D&D brand. Death saves, is that what it is? Yeah, he's like a hardcore D&D guy, like very.
And I would like for it to happen, the campaign in his house. Like, have you ever seen his?
Yeah, no, his D&D cave is pretty epic. It's pretty epic.
If we could play at his house with all of those people, like.
I mean, come on, the Big Show goes over there and plays games with him. I mean, that's freaking nuts. So yeah, no, that's a good one, really good one. My top 5, no order, and I got a repeat on here as well. I got Joe Rogan because it's fucking Joe Rogan. Samuel L. Jackson because it'd be hilarious. Alan Rickman, Christopher Walken, and Post Malone. And this is really just to get a bunch of dudes together to drink and have a ridiculously good time with. But with that, guys, this was our first episode of Grimm Talks. We'll be doing it every Monday right around noon, and then our main campaign airs Fridays at midnight. We hope that you come, watch, and enjoy. This will be on our Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, our YouTube, and you can, catch the Twitch VOD on Twitch. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll catch you Friday.